Hello, Mr. Geiselart here. In the last lesson, we learned about the graph of sine and cosine. Now we're going to expand on that a little bit, and we're going to take a look at what does the graph of y equals d plus a times the sine of x. What does that graph look like? Well, let's start off by taking a look if we add in a number a. In other words, multiply the sine of x by some constant. So let's start by multiplying it by 2. If we go back, we see that we start at 0, 0, and then we go up to a maximum of 1, and then back to 0, and then down to a minimum of -1. If we put a 2 out in front, look what happens. Now, instead of going from 0 to 1, we go from 0 to 2. And then back to 0, and then -2. If I change this to a 3 now, then it will go up to 3. If I change it to a 4, then it will go up to a 4. Now, the other thing that might happen is instead of being a positive 4, what happens if we make it a -4? So let's see what happens when I hit that. Notice that the graph just flipped over. So it starts there, and then it flipped over if we put that negative back in there. But it doesn't change how high and low it goes. It still has a maximum of 4, and it still has a minimum of -4. So this number here, this a, is called the amplitude. And that is how high or low it goes, or how far does it travel from the center of the graph. Okay, now let's take a look at what happens if we put a number out in front. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this back to a plus so it looks normal. And then if we put a number there. So watch what happens to the graph if I put a 2 in. Notice it moves up 2 units. So the middle of the graph is no longer at 0. The middle of the graph is now at 2. The amplitude didn't change. The amplitude still goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, and still goes down 1, 2, 3, 4. So the amplitude is still 4. We call this number the middle. So whatever the number is out in front, that is the middle of the graph. So in this case, the middle's at 2. If we make that middle number a negative number, it just moves it down instead of moving it up. So now we're going to take a look at the assignment and see how this looks in the assignment that you're going to do. So here's the look at the assignment. All the first 5 questions look pretty much the same. And all we need to do is look at what the middle is. The middle is just going to be this first number here, so that'll be -4. And then the amplitude is just the number in front of the sine or the cosine. When I look at the answers here to double check, it shows that that is -4 and that is 3. So those answers are correct. Now we're also going to do this using a graph. So if we take a look at this graph, the first thing we want to do is find the middle of the graph. So I'm just going to draw a line right here that goes through the middle. I know it's the middle because the max goes up 2 units, the minimum will go down 2 units. So it's right in the middle of the graph. So my middle is at 2. And then in this case, my amplitude is also 2 because I moved 2 units from the middle up and 2 units from the middle down. So that would be the amplitude. And just checking our answers, everything looks good. So that's how you do this assignment. I hope it was helpful.